What's up, guys? Welcome into For Checking TV. How you guys doing tonight? This is episode number 5 of our first season here. As always, I'm TK. We got Scotty, Doug, Peyton, and joining us today is our special guest. We have Hunter down there at the bottom. Hunter, thanks for joining us, man. How you doing?
Good, man. I know I was on here about month and a half ago, and had a lot of fun. So, of course, I'm very glad to be back.
Awesome. And we'll just get started here. All the first round games are now officially complete. So I know we touched on a couple of them last show, but we're going to touch on all of them again real quick just to run through the first round with you guys, and then we'll move ahead to the way the second round currently looks. So to get us started, let's start off with Colorado versus St. Louis. That was a sweep 4-0 in favor of Colorado for the first round win. So let's touch on this one real quick.
I am Ryan O'Reilly. We will take this game to 7 games.
How about the Ryan O'Reilly saying the statement of we're gonna have fun and we're going to beat them? Yeah, okay.
Oh, 100, totally right. That's totally what happened, right?
Yeah, always so funny seeing Jordan Binnington be a complete piss baby on the ice, trying to fight for the hour, and it's like, dude, you're like 24 years old. Go home to your frat boy friends and just like you want a Stanley Cup. You're making $6 million a year. I don't know why you have to act like that. It's like a mini Henrik Lundqvist or something.
My favorite thing about Bennington is, and we're probably gonna have to get into this later because the other E-Bugs family member started attacking people on Twitter. But how the Blues E-Bug, Tyler Stewart, just goes at people anytime they go after Bennington, and it's just like, honestly though, dude, like he's done it to himself. He runs around like he's a WWE wrestler, and he thinks he's the shit whenever he really isn't. He's honestly a bad person. So,
yeah, touching back on Ryan O'Reilly, if you're gonna talk that talk, you better be able to back it up. And despite being tied for the team lead in points with a whopping 3 assists, he was also a -7 in this series. So, like I said, not exactly an impact player that he needed to. But then again, compared to everyone else on the ice, he was working miracles out there. I mean, no one on St. Louis had no shot in this series. You look at how good Colorado's been. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Nathan MacKinnon is a man on a mission. I mean, you see the way he is playing right now. All he cares about is winning a Stanley Cup. And he is right now the most dangerous player in hockey. I will say that confidently. No, I don't think anyone can really hang with him at the moment. And with the group of guys that he has around him, scary times to be have to face Colorado.
let's talk about that supporting cast though. I honestly believe that Colorado's defensive group is the best defensive group I've ever seen on paper. They are just absolutely insane. I mean, like you got, it's Makar and Taves, and then Graves and Gerard. And then right now your third pair is Patrick Nemeth and Connor Timmins. And I don't know what's going on with Bowen Byram. I don't know what the injury situation is with him, but like one would think if he's able to get healthy in these playoffs, that third pair is going to be Byram and Timmins, and you're just going to let the kids roll and run wild. And that is going to be a sight to be seen whenever, if that were to able to come to fruition.
I've had people ask me like, what is it like just watching them? It's like you're watching the evolution of the game when you watch this team. Like that's really what it is. I mean, this is probably best team we've seen since the 08 Red Wings. I mean, they demolish anyone they play. You saw what they did to Vegas. I'm probably going to tune into game 2 tonight since I have off work tomorrow. And yeah, I mean, MacKinnon, when he's on, you can make the argument that he's the best player in the world. I know McDavid, what he did, and Sid's obviously up there, and Matthews, but I mean, they have a super line that has 65% of the expected goals. I mean, almost 70% of the actual goals. Doug nailed it with their defense. It's disgusting. When you have that 5-man unit on the ice, good luck. I mean, it's curtains when you have that super line, Taves and Makar, and then, of course, their goalie is also really good. I mean, it's just good luck getting the puck off them. And they have the depth even without Nazem Kadri, who, of course, is a flat-out moron for continuing to get suspended. But I mean, you have Brandon Saad on there, JT Compher, Jonas Donskoy, of course, and just so many other really good depth players that They know their roles and they can contribute whenever. So I mean, this team is so deep, and it is going to be something that after this series, if Colorado wins, they're going to get the winner of Montreal Winnipeg. They may honestly go like 12-2 all the way to the final.
I think they can sweep their way to the Stanley Cup final, honestly, if Flower doesn't steal a game in this Vegas series. Because I see no way, whether it be Winnipeg or Montreal, I see no way they're going to be able to even hang with that team.
They need Flower to be. Oh, I think he needs to be at either 2017 level against Washington or 08 against Detroit to really steal the series. I mean, and I think Vegas is a really good team. We'll obviously probably get to that series in a bit, but I just don't think they have the firepower to go up against them.
Speaking of 08 against Detroit, happy 13th birthday to the Peter Sikora triple overtime winner. In what was that, game 3?
Game 5, was that
game 5?
Triple OT. Yeah, 10-year-old Hunter was not having a good time at school the next
What
day.
a pass from this guy.
Oh God,
Just unreal.
Right, the wit dog was on the team. That's right.
I can't stand him, but that was a great pass, and like I said, I probably only got 5 or 6 hours of sleep going into 5th grade of school.
Yeah, no. I'll be honest with you. Like, I used to be a big Chicklets guy, but like I'm slowly starting to like phase myself out of it, just because I like to think that I'm very analytically sound, and I don't like the whole like we need the fighting and physicality in the game, and I can't stand them simping for Tom Wilson constantly. So yeah.
The next one we want to touch on, I know, kind of just led into that with the way Colorado is. We touched on a little bit beating up on Vegas right now. We'll get to that definite series later on as we cover the rest of round 1. But the round 1 matchup between Vegas and Minnesota that finished out in 7 games. Let's touch on that one. Vegas was able to pull ahead, of course, like they said, they're facing Colorado right now. So let's touch on that.
I mean, honestly, like Vegas, I kind of hate to say it, they got lucky. Cam Talbot just ran out of gas for the Wild, man. Like, he was unreal for a couple games there. He almost went into that 2017 form he was in when he was with the Oilers, and I mean, he really almost did the damn thing. I'm excited for Minnesota though, because they're an up and coming team. They have a lot of good young pieces, and I think it's going to get a lot more interesting next year whenever, you can have some of the young guys come up like Adam Beckman and Marco Rossi, and you got to still got to get Fiala and Kaprizov locked up, but I'm sure they'll be able to do that rather convincingly. But with Vegas, man, they're a team that's just absolutely loaded. But I'm like I said before, I don't think that they're good enough to hang with the Avs. So yeah.
Yeah, just building off that, kind of what you said, Dougie. I mean, with Minnesota, no one really, had an outstanding performance for them, at least as far as the skaters are concerned. Eriksson Ek and Kirill Kaprizov each only had 3 points. I mean, that's in a 7-game series. So, I mean, there's just, you didn't really get the huge offensive performance that you got. You sprinkle in a couple guys chipping in every night, but, every now and then you need a guy who's really going to, take the reins and, do the job they need to do offensively. And no one really did that for Minnesota per se. Like you said, Cam Talbot just ran out of gas at the end. He had a great series and he did his best to keep them in it. But at the end of the day, Vegas was able to prevail there. Good series by Matthias Janmark. I think he was a guy that was kind of slept on for Vegas. He had a good series. Obviously, Stone and Alex Tuck did their things, but and of course, Marc-Andre Fleury also did well in this series. He was really key for them early on, and will probably be key for them against Colorado and moving along in the second round. But yeah, for Minnesota, I think they need that offensive piece to just step up huge. Obviously, Kaprizov got his first taste of NHL playoff hockey, so we'll see how he adjusts to that now moving forward. But like you said, Minnesota is going to be around for a while now, so get used to seeing them.
Yeah, and the big thing I want to touch on is the fact that Joel Eriksson Ek really shouldn't be at fault because he's not a number 1 center. he reminds you a lot of Miko Koivu, where it's like he's a great number 3 center on a championship roster, but was forced to play number 1 center just due to the situation and nature of what Minnesota's like, in the ability to struggle to like pull big name free agents and really just get like franchise breaking talents at the center position. So that's why if in an ideal world they try and maybe swing a trade for Jack Eichel or maybe bring in Ryan Nugent Hopkins in free agency in the offseason, or look at Sean Monahan or somebody like that, because they need somebody to play with Kirill Kaprizov. I think in an ideal world, the third line on that roster, when they're winning a Stanley Cup potentially, is Jordan Greenway, Joel Eriksson Ek, and Marcus Foligno.
All right. Anybody else on this series before we move to the next one? No? Okay. All right. So the next one, we're gonna jump over and talk about, like, we're saving a couple certain ones for last. So we're gonna jump over to the East and the Central real quick. We'll do the Central first and get that one out of the way. So Carolina versus Nashville in the first round. Carolina winning that in 6 games, 4-2. Nashville put up a fight though. A couple of those overtime games going even further than overtime in some of them. So let's touch on that one real quick.
I mean, they didn't do horrible. I remember I said that they were going to get swept. They kind of maybe eat my words on that. I mean, they did good. Both I'm looking at the scores. Game 3 and 4, they both won the double overtime. The Preds won both of them, and like you said, they put up a fight. So you can't sneeze at their efforts. Carolina kind of came in there pretty stacked, and the odds were already in their favor. But Nashville didn't back down; they didn't lie down and die. So, gotta give props to them.
Yeah, I mean, UC Saros did everything he could to send that to 7 games, or honestly just try to win it for them. That was a heroic performance, I thought, from him. He'll be their number 1 next year. Pecorine either is going to retire or he's going to play somewhere else. I mean, he's not going to sign back there, I don't think. But they showed a lot of, yeah. I mean, TK hit the nail on the head there. Excuse me. They fought them pretty hard. I think a lot harder than a lot of people thought they would. Everyone, including me, I said Carolina in 5, I think. But for a while there, it looked like it was going to go back to Raleigh, because I think they only tied it with 6 minutes left, and then of course they won it in overtime. But just seeing that playoff atmosphere in Nashville with almost a full crowd, it was worth it to see that, just because their fans are, as I'm sure everyone here knows, their fans there are something else. But obviously, I'm not surprised that Carolina won. I was just a bit surprised that Nashville put up a really good fight, and especially their star players, I thought, played a lot better than they did throughout the season. Philip Forsberg played well. Matt Duchene, I thought, had a much better series than what he had in the regular season. Johansson looked a lot better, and a lot of those are their most highly paid players, and they didn't play like it for a lot of this season, but it was nice to see them actually, play like it as the stakes got higher.
I think we also need to acknowledge that playoff Jordan Staal is an absolute dog too. Man, he had a good series.
Different beast.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never understand people that still hate on him, man. I'll love Jordan Staal to the day I die. He was so huge for the franchise early on in Sid and Gino's career. And, I'll always say, that shorthanded goal was probably a top 3 goal of that run. They probably don't win the cup without that. So every time he gets into the playoffs, he's just something else.
Yeah. I mean, you guys all know this. I love Jordan Staal. He's still probably my favorite Penguin ever. And I will forever be holding out hope that 2 or 3 years down the line here, he randomly decides to come back and we get some last dance type stuff with Sid and Gino and the boys. So, yeah.
The other side of the Central, that series also went to 6 games for the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. That rivalry brewed a lot more than most of the past has put out for us. It wasn't always a rivalry between those two. It happened this time throughout the season for sure, and led to the playoffs. Thought Florida was going to be out in 5. Spencer Knight sent him to one more game, and that unfortunately ended there. But 4-2 win for Tampa Bay. They're currently taking on Carolina right now, but we'll get to that later. So let's touch on this Tampa Florida series.
I'm
think
really
really
excited. Oh, go ahead, Doug.
No, you go ahead.
Um, I think that they should trust Spencer Knight a bit more. Because Bobrovsky and Drieger are absolutely horrible. There's no need for them. Not Bobrovsky's a shell of himself, and Drieger's just Drieger. And I mean, we saw Spencer Knight, like, he's ready to play. I mean, that literally is their franchise goal. And I think they just need to trust him a bit more.
Yeah, I just don't understand how like you signed Bobrovsky like 10 or 11 days after you draft that guy. You know, I mean, obviously, none of us knew he was going to be ready this quickly, but like, I think you could have wrote it with like Sam Montembeau and Chris Strieger until Spencer Knight was ready. I mean, there are a lot better ways to spend $10 million. And could you imagine what $10 million could get you right now in this flat cap era? I mean, they created an entire playoff roster out of just random like guys that were in unrestricted free agency. I mean, imagine what they could have done with $10 million more dollars. They could have been a legitimate Stanley Cup contender somehow. You know, they could have made a big trade. They could have done something more with this money they're paying Sergei Bobrovsky. And I know it's not feasible and it's probably never going to happen, but I would not be opposed to them once again trading a shitload of assets to an expansion team to offload the Bobrovsky contract. I wouldn't mind it. I think that would be their best plan of action. But then again, it's like, how do you even go about it? It's probably a top three. I want to say it's probably the worst contract in the league right now. And it's going to be like that for quite some time because it's going to age like, I don't even know, man, like a rotten dumpster.
Also have to give credit to Tampa Bay just for playing a great series overall too. I mean, as much as we've dumped on Gerald for coming back from his injury and whatnot, to step into the NHL playoffs, the most intense hockey you're going to play during the year, and put up 11 points in 6 games, that's pretty impressive. Same goes for Alex Killorn, Stamkos, and Hedman. They all had great series. So did Braden Point. Just a great job by Tampa, and obviously Vasilevsky held it down in the crease. So good for them. They did the job they needed to do, and that's why they're in the position that they're in. And like everyone's been saying, pretty much as far as Florida is concerned, the goaltending just did not come up clutch when it needed to. It's never a good sign when you're rotating 3 goalies into a series. So unfortunately for them, that's going to be something they have to look at here in the offseason, and we'll see what decisions they make for it with it going forward. So Tampa's moving on.
Up to the east side of that, we'll touch on this one a little bit. Then we'll jump down to one in the north and save our last two for last, obviously. Boston versus Washington. That was a 4-1 win for Boston. Capitals didn't really push too much competition against the Bruins there. So let's touch on that real quick.
They rolled over pretty much. I mean, it just wasn't much of a fight with the Capitals, it seemed like. Again, another situation where they got to go to 3 goalies again because, something happened. Vitek Vanecek goes down with an injury. Now we have to push Craig Anderson in net. And Craig Anderson, statistically speaking, was the best goalie they had. Samsonov didn't do anything, outstanding in particular. He was 0-3. I understand that he did the best that he could with what the situation he got put into, but I mean, it wasn't a very good look for him. And obviously, the mistake in Game 5 is going to come back and haunt him, but it is what it is. Again, no one really stepped up offensively for Washington either. Ovechkin and Oshie were the highest point getters with 4. So, I mean, there was no Nick Backstrom. He all but, disappeared during this series. Evgeny Kuznetsov only played in 3 games, and he was held pointless, so he didn't really do that much either. And Boston pretty much had an easy coast to it. Tuukka Rask stood on his head pretty much, had a great series. That top line with Pastrnak, Bergeron, and Marchand also did what they needed to do as well. Had a couple of the death pieces chip in. It was a pretty easy series for Boston, and that's why they're moving on.
Anybody else for this one?
mean, I just want to touch on something real quick. I think the big thing that makes Boston so good is that the Hall, Krejci, Smith line is like a great value version of their top line, and that helps their scoring depth so much. And if Taylor Hall's open to signing an extension in Boston, which I think he might be, look out, man. That team can be loaded because big person we're actually forgetting about that's been injured all season for them is Andre Kasha. And he's still like, even though he's going to be like a second, third line piece for them in the long run, the dude is still damn good. And, you have him and Charlie Coyle running your third line. Like that's a really stacked championship type roster going into an off season where you expect Krejci and Tuukka to both take less for the betterment of the team. So.
All right. And then touching the other one real quick before we get to the last two, Winnipeg versus Edmonton. That's a sweep for Winnipeg 4-0, and that one Winnipeg looked terrible. So let's get to that one real quick.
Shame on Edmonton. Just shame.
Not surprised, honestly. I mean, when look at the Oilers after Draisaitl and McDavid, who do they have? I mean, really got to think about it. I mean, the Nuge is not going to be enough to help carry the team. Neither was what's his name, the defenseman Tyson Barrie. He kind of turned into a pumpkin in this series too. And then the goaltending, Mike Smith's not a guy that's going to steal a series for you. Not at this age of the game. He's not going to be that guy. Credit to the Jets. Their players did what they needed to do. Scheifele and Wheeler both had great series. So did Kyle Connor. And Morrissey was great for them on the back end. Connor Hellebuck made saves. At the end of the day, Winnipeg did what they needed to do. Their players played their game, and Edmonton didn't have an answer. And that's going to be the problem with Connor McDavid. It's time at Edmonton right now. I mean, I forget how many seasons into his career he's in now. It's got to be like 5 or 6. I don't know offhand, but either way, the guy has no help. I mean, it's literally him and Draisaitl dragging the rest of the team with him, and it's not going to equate to long-term success until that. And I understand, obviously with their cap situation, you tied up a lot of money to 2 players, but someone was going to do that, and someone else was going to do that if you didn't do it. So you kind of had to. But in this case, Edmonton's just got to find a way to get some more pieces to help out McDavid and Draisaitl, because right now those guys are being left out to dry, in all honesty.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for both of them. Hopefully at some point Connor just asks out of there just because it's just really bad. And I think a lot of people forget Oscar Klefbom being out for the year really hurt them. He's not a number 1 in my opinion, but he's a strong number 2. So having him back next year, I think will really help them. But they also got to get some more depth scoring in there. Peter Shirley really screwed them with all the years that he was there, making a lot of stupid trades. And you have Ken Holland saying after the season that they want to play more like Winnipeg for next season. It's like, okay, so you just want to rely on a goalie to just carry you into the playoffs. I don't really understand that, but it is Ken Holland after all. Then you also have them saying that they want to go out and re-sign Adam Larson to a 4-year term, which would just be, I mean, what are we doing here with that? I mean, it's just like, I just think they're an organization that doesn't really get it. And I'm sure, I don't know if any of you saw this morning, Pierre Maguire's dumping on analytics as usual, but saying the Edmonton Oilers are an analytical team. It's like, I don't think they've ever used that to function with their decisions, especially because, as you've all said, they have 2 good players. Nugent Hopkins isn't bad, but he's probably going to walk this year, make a lot of money. After that, they have Yamamoto, Zach Hassian, but like, there's not a lot after that.
Analytical team when the beat writers for Edmonton believe that the arc of their defense is Chris Russell. That's fantastic.
I will say,
Also,
is a good season though. I like watching him. He's
who?
got a lot better. Darnell Nurse, he's gotten a lot better.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Ethan Bear is going to get a lot better there as well. Don't know why he's getting
stays.
Yeah, I don't know why he's getting
Edmonton. Literally, all the Edmonton fans literally why? It's not just his fault.
he played his ass off. I don't really understand that either. They need a lot of help. Yeah, I mean, and the funny thing is Mike Smith actually had a really good regular season. But mean, it doesn't mean anything when he just vomits all over himself in the playoffs. So they do got to go out and fix their goaltending situation. Everyone, I think some people forget that they almost had Markstrom. Probably would have been a bad contract to sign because he signed for
Mhm.
$6 million per or something like that. But they have a lot of holes to fix going into next season, and there's not a lot of cap space. That's for sure.
They're probably going to take a chance on someone like Linus Allmark or something and hope that it works. And honestly, I think that might be the guy for them because they're not going to have the money to pay like a Peter Mrazek or somebody of that nature. Either that or they need to get in and look at teams that have goaltending issues, like expansion wise, like, maybe look at a Chris Strieger or Merzlikins or Corpusalo in Columbus, something like that. So, yeah.
All right. Then the final two we want to talk about in the first round before we just touch on the second round ones here. Let's toss this up to Toronto in North because this was embarrassing. And I
Here we
know
go.
Doug wants to have his soapbox here. So
Dougie.
Montreal losing this series 4-3 in 7 games. I don't even know where to start with this. So let's just go ahead because this is pathetic in my opinion.
Where's the Joker makeup? Just put it on already.
Who are we trading? Who are we trading? Which one of them are we trading?
The whole fucking team.
No, it has to be
And
Marner.
move him to fucking Atlanta.
No, it has to be Marner. I mean, he's an $11 million player, and he literally just disappears. And I know it's not his fault. There's a lot of pressure on his shoulders. His RFA negotiations were a mess, and they're not even his fault. That's on his agent. That's on his dad. That's on Mike Babcock. But when you make $11 million in this league, especially in a market as big as Toronto, you need to come in and back it up. Austin Matthews backs it up. William Nylander makes $6.9 million, but he played like an $11 million player in that first round series. There's so many guys around him to back it up. Jason Spezza. There were times in this series where Jason Spezza was putting the team on his back. He shouldn't have to. He's too old for that. He's too tired for that. There's a lot of miles on that body. You need him as a complementary piece and to be the team dad, not carry your entire roster. I mean, and a lot of it, one could argue there's a lot of like big systemic issues with that defense. They have a really good defensive core on paper, but like just random game-breaking mistakes at the most inopportune times. Like Travis Dermott, I mean, literally did the defensive version of Jari just saucing the puck to Josh Bailey in the neutral zone. And then Rasmus Sandin got cooked the game before, and that was why Dermott went in. I don't understand how like Travis Dermott can be like a semi-consistent NHL player for like 4 or 5 years now, and he's still not getting it. Every year, I swear, every summer, I'm listening to the Steve Dangle podcast, and I hear Steven, Adam, and Jesse say, all right, this year's going to be the year that Travis Dermott gets his big run. This is going to be it. This is going to be the year. When the thing that sucks about all of this is Kyle Dubas had an offer on the table last summer to trade Travis Dermott and Andres Johnson for Mackenzie Weegar, but he didn't take it. And, imagine if that this team had Mackenzie Weegar. Oh my God, like Riley, Weegar, Muzzin, Brody, and then Sandin and Hall, like that's pretty shut down defensively. That's pretty solid defensive group, but I just don't understand it, man. And like, everybody's gonna be talking about Marner for Eichel, but like, don't trade if you're gonna trade Mitch Marner. Don't trade him for just one player. You need to trade them for several pieces that can make your team better and keep them in big time contention under the cap. So like try Arizona, try and get someone like Connor Garland or maybe Jacob Chikrin. I know Jacob Chikrin's going to be hard to get because he's quite literally the best kept secret in this league. He is, in my opinion, he's a top 5 defenseman in the league. He just doesn't get play media wise because he plays in Arizona. If you put Jacob Chikrin in a media market like Toronto, he would be like crowned the second coming of Christ. And I don't know, man. Part of me thinks similar to what we're going to get into in a little bit with Brian Rust. You might try and cash out on Morgan Riley, knowing that you're not going to be able to pay him in next summer. You might try and just move him for a big return and try and use those assets elsewhere, because who knows, this team can, if they move out $11 million, they can do a lot. And I don't know, man. I just don't understand how your roster can consist of Marner, Tavares, Nylander, Matthews, Zach Hyman, guys like that. And not even just that, but like you have free, like a guaranteed Hall of Famer in your bottom 6 in Joe Thornton, and one of the most underrated players of our lifetime in Jason Spezza, and they still can't get it done. They got goaltending finally with Jack Campbell, but like you wonder, can that be sustained? Because goalies are weird, man. They can go off for a year. I mean, look at Tristan Jarry. He looked great last year and at several points in this season, and then he went into the playoffs and didn't look like an NHL goaltender at all. So I don't know, man. I just think big changes are needed in Toronto, because you got to find a way to spread that cap out a little bit more and make it more of a contender long term.
So here are some things that I just want to point out about the Toronto Maple Leafs, because this goes beyond just this year and all the shortcomings that they've had. In all honesty, the Toronto Maple Leafs are one of, if not the most pathetic teams in the world of sports, and their fans eat it up with pride and loyalty. Here are some facts for you. Since 1967, the Toronto Maple Leafs have no Stanley Cup Finals appearances, no season MVPs, no season point leaders, no Hart trophies, no Norris trophies, no Vezina trophies, no Stanley Cups, and no Conn Smythes. Since 2004, the Toronto Maple Leafs have suffered 5 first-round exits and 1 loss in the qualifying round. Thanks for coming, Columbus. No Leafs player has ever won the Art Ross or James Norris trophy in their 103-year history. And the first player to win the Rocky Richard trophy happened this year with Austin Matthews. To put it bluntly, the history of this franchise is an embarrassment to the original 6. It's an embarrassment to the NHL. It's an embarrassment to professional hockey in general. All their cups that they won were played against 5 other teams in a black and white world. I mean, let's just be real about it. I mean, I don't ever want to hear about how this year is different for the Leafs and how, they're going to keep going after the cup year after year. Hear how, Sportsnet up in Toronto or Ontario keeps, telling about how great this team is. That was pathetic. If you thought 2019 was bad for the Leafs and their fan base, this has to be 10 times worse. You had the win. It was over. You had a 3-1 series lead and you blew it again. You got Game 7 syndrome for the umpteenth time. And honestly, how could every city in Canada not be celebrating after Game 7? I guarantee you everybody was. They had to be. Just a good old time. I mean, imagine, bringing in 500 of those frontline workers, all those people who helped out in the hospitals and, have done so much for everybody during the pandemic. And that's the worst thing you end up seeing, is the Leafs getting slaughtered in Game 7. Just pathetic.
It's tough to follow up. I was just gonna add, it's just gonna be hilarious whenever if Toronto ever gets past the first round, the city of Toronto is going to just go up in flames. Like they're gonna be partying like they would just want to Stanley Cup just because they got past the first round. I just think that's hilarious because that's literally what's gonna happen. Like they're gonna celebrate in the streets because they finally got past the first round.
It's gonna be like when the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Literally.
Man.
Honestly, we talk about the Oilers being the Cleveland Browns of the NHL. This is the true Cleveland Browns of the NHL.
The Cleveland Browns. Let's just put this out. The Cleveland Browns did better this season, so let's not go
All
there.
that talent, and they're still not a contender. All that talent, they're still not.
Hey, we beat
legitimate
the
contender.
Steelers in the playoffs this year.
I don't even think you can compare the Leafs to any franchise, though. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Like, you honestly can't. Who in their 50-year franchise, who in their, not even 50 years, but just in the last 50 years, who has suffered as much as Toronto has? Who's underachieved as much as they have to the level that they have? There's nothing else to compare it to. You haven't won a playoff series since 2004, since Spider-Man 2 was out. That's the last time you guys won a playoff series.
That's a hell of a reference, Scotty.
Yeah, I know.
Great movie.
Jesus Christ.
In my head, I'm like, okay, what are things that happened in 2004? I was only like 4 years old.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay, that's just
Blockbuster was still in business.
yeah, Blockbuster was still a thing. He's like,
Oh my god.
like
You remember you could go rent a video? Holy shit.
yeah. Like Matt
Go-
Son, the
Go to
cat.
the grocery store and get those rental movies from the little kiosk. You just pay.
Exactly. Like, it was a completely different world the last time they won.
2004.
Yeah.
Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco weren't even signed to record labels yet.
Oh my god.
So actually, no, they were signed to record labels, but they didn't put out the big albums yet.
Yeah. It was still
Sugar We're Going Down was in its infancy.
like just so basically like building off my point, you can't compare them to anyone. You know, it's not like you can look at Connor McDavid and say, okay, he's like the Mike Trout of the NHL. He's the best player in the game, but he has no help, so his teams are never going to win. You can make that comparison. Well, like, there's nothing you can compare the Leafs to. They are just their own section of pain. That's all they are. There's no other team to compare them to. They're just the Leafs, and that's all you can call them for what they are. At the end
New level. It's a new load for them, honestly.
Yeah.
It really is.
Of course,
At the very least,
yeah.
should have gotten to the second round. At the least, they should have gotten to the second round this year.
They
I
should
don't
have got to the final.
They should have got to the Stanley Cup final. That's where they should have gotten.
League
Eastern Conference.
semifinal at the
Don't
least.
push.
I won't
Eastern
Don't
Conference
push.
final.
I'm not going to go that far. They were going to choke at some point. It was just a matter of time, but I didn't think it'd be in the first round.
They
Yeah.
should have. They should have got their way through the North.
Yeah.
They played them fuckers all season long. They whooped butt
Mhm.
on every single one of them all season long, and you get to the first round, playing Montreal of all people, the last team to clinch a playoff spot this year based on the amount of points, the last freaking team, and you get your ass handed to you on a platter by Montreal.
Choke.
Yeah.
So,
It's a joke.
and then talking about the next team that we want to touch on, this is the hometown team, Pittsburgh, again going down.
Oh, let's go, baby.
Rematch of 2019 when they got beat by the Islanders. We thought it was gonna be different. It wasn't.
I would like to add one more thing about Toronto.
Yeah.
So it's actually more about Montreal. Montreal has upset 2 years in a row.
Yep.
Pens,
Last year. Mm-hmm.
and then they embarrassed the Leafs. Absolutely embarrassed them.
They embarrassed the Pens last season.
They did embarrass the Pens, but I think this is more of an embarrassment.
Well, I mean, I'm just looking at the fact that Montreal won it in less games against the Pens last season.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah,
That's the only reason I'm looking at that.
don't
But-
remind me.
Penguins team last year was absolute fecal matter compared to what this Toronto Maple Leafs team was
Right.
this year. This is 100. Yeah, it's 100% more embarrassing for the Leafs when you look at, when you compare those two teams. The Penguins had one of the worst. Penguins defensive core was terrible.
Right.
You want to remember Jack Johnson,
Johnson.
Schultz? Jack Johnson and Justin Schultz? That was a fun pairing, wasn't it? Remember having Patrick Marleau on our third line and scratching Jared McCann instead, even though Marleau couldn't do anything. That was a good time too, wasn't it? So yeah, I mean, it's Toronto. Toronto's definitely more embarrassing. They had everything and they failed. So
But yeah, moving on to the Penguins losing in 6 games to the Islanders here. Um, Doug looks like he's ready to run through a wall here to talk about this. He's like I'm
Man.
just like he's like shut up, TK. I want to go right now.
Yeah. The thing that is just so unfortunate is the forward group and defensive group as a whole played so well. They were playing almost at a championship level, especially in the game with the Tanev game winner. Um, I just don't understand. Like, it's honestly a shame that, you know, and I feel like a lot of this is going to occur in hindsight once Crosby and Malkin's careers are over. But once again, this was like a league semifinal run at minimum, floundered away by goaltending. Just absolutely just thrown to hell in a handbasket by the goalies, and I mean, during the double OT game, I had someone text me and they were like, hey, are you like upset about the game or whatever? And it's like, literally, the legacy of my favorite player's career is never going to reach its full potential due to head injuries and the fact that his goaltenders were so goddamn pedestrian at times that him and his sidekick were not able to reach their full potential. Crosby and Malkin should have probably 4 or 5 Stanley Cups right now. Like, we should be in the immortality phase of this group, where they're all guaranteed first ballot Hall of Famers, even Letang, and we're all just kind of like riding high, like whatever happens. But now, like, we still see ourselves searching for that, like, I don't want to say last cup, but like potentially like that last big run out of this group because of how bad Fleury was in the early 2010s at times and how bad Jari was this year, And if you look at some of the charts that were tweeted during that playoff series, especially after it was over, it makes you wonder, like, what the hell could Matt Murray have done with this defensive group? I genuinely think he would have at least won a playoff round. I mean, I'm not going to be that guy and do this whole thing, but like, part of me wonders how different things would be if they were able to keep Murray around, because Jari just isn't it. And they're going to have to go out and find either a veteran goaltender or a goaltender that's just flat out better than Tristan Jari to run with him in a 1A, 1B tandem, in a sense, to basically babysit him.
So one thing that was very annoying about this, about the performance of Tristan Jari, was all of the people who were saying, should have kept Fleury or, something like that. And I mean, that's just, it needs to stop. Let's just turn the clock back to 2017. Okay. I mean, let's just turn it back. You had a much younger goalie who'd won 2 straight cups, was much cheaper, and was more reliable at the time. You were going to pick Murray over Fleury every time in that scenario. Yeah, things didn't work out because Matt Murray regressed, but Fleury would have done the same here with this defense. I mean, to say that Fleury would have done the same with this defense is asinine. I mean, the organization tried to panic for this. I think they're going to try and panic for Fleury in the offseason. They're going to do a panic trade. It wouldn't shock me. I could honestly see them doing it if they actually do manage to go that route. I mean, I saw Hextall's conference today where he was basically saying how, well, Tristan had a tough time, but he's a young goalie. He'll learn from these mistakes. He'll pick it up. Listen, you have at most, maybe next year is the last year potentially that you have at winning a Stanley Cup. Are you going to go into that season and think to yourself, yeah, Tristan Jari is the guy for me. This is the guy that's going to help us get over the hump and do what we need to do. He's going to be if something does crap out here, hey, at least we have Tristan Jari backing us up. I really don't know. I mean, I want to have faith in that guy. I wanted to have faith in Matt Murray, but we saw how that situation unfolded. It seems like it might be happening again with Tristan Jari. Who knows? But I mean, it's really hard to tell right now. Dougie, go ahead.
I just want to say this about Tristan Jari. I don't understand this whole he's still young thing. He's 26 years old. Like, he's not young. They're running around saying, oh, he's a young kid, like he's like 22 or 23, and it's his first year in the league. Like, he's been around. He's technically established. I mean, I know it's basically a consolation prize when you think about it, but the guy went to an all-star game. I mean, he has experience in the league. I think it just boils down to maybe he's not a playoff goalie. Maybe he's not a guy you trust in a big body of games. And if that's the case, get someone to roll with him, because as much as he infuriated me in this series, I still don't want him to leave. I still think that he deserves another crack at it. And I think, we're really getting into especially now, like you see with Vegas, like I know that Leonard played horrible in game one, but like I think we're getting to a point in the league where you're going to need two good goalies to win a Stanley Cup. And you're going to need them to pick each other up and play off of each other well. I just think that that's the way to go. If you can get two good goalies and fit them under the cap and still field a very competitive forward core, I think that's the way to go, and I don't know where they go from here. I imagine they're going to try and address goaltending in the offseason. And, I still think Tristan Jari's on the roster come October, but I don't know if it's going to be a starting capacity.
Okay. Who else on this one? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you all basically hit the nail on the head there. Luckily, Doug, there's a lot of good veteran options in the offseason. Peter Mrazek, Linus Olmark. I mean, hell, you can take a flyer on Frederick Anderson if you want to. He's was hurt a lot this year, but I mean, he'll probably want a bit more. I think there's no doubt they will sign someone in the offseason, probably as a 1B kind of type to push him. If Jari does struggle next season, you can just put him in the starting role, and they've had experience starting. Oh, it's a classic series where, you saw the national stat trick charts and you're like, how the hell are the Penguins losing it? It's the biggest X factor come playoff time is always goaltending. And, Ilya Sorokin was really good. They kind of got Halaktin away from 2010. And, Tristan Jari kind of played like Marc-Andre Fleury a bit in those years. And, I understand, some people are a little hesitant to criticize him, but he kind of cost them at least 3 runs at the Stanley Cup. But his smiles per 60 guys is so high. So you always got to remember that. He always smiles and everything. And then you have all these Islander fans on Long Island hooting, hollering, bitching, whining just because we want to play the underdog victim and all this garbage. You live on Long Island, but I mean, I'm just like, this was always going to be a tough series. I don't think anyone was discounting that. I was not surprised that it was 2-2 through 4. It was just when the Penguins really pushed play in the next 2 games, they just didn't get a save when they needed to, especially in Game 6 where they played their asses off in those first 2 periods, took a 3-2 lead well into the second period, and then, all the hell broke loose. But I understand also people are going to be a little upset that Hextall, with what he said today, he didn't overreact. This is not Jim Rutherford here who would make 50,000 trades in the offseason and just blow the team up for the sake of doing that. They're going to bring the coach back. They're going to bring a lot of these players back. Sure, they're going to lose someone really good in expansion. Hopefully they don't protect Jeff Carter in expansion. That would be a mistake.
No.
I think, and I love Jeff Carter a lot, but you think Seattle's going to take a 36, 37-year-old center? No. I mean, it's probably – because at the point you're asking for them to take Teddy Blueger if you're not protecting him, and that's a player I really don't want to lose. I mean, I saw people saying on Twitter the other day that, they'd rather – protect Kapanen and Carter and Tanev over Blueger. I'm like, I don't know what you're smoking, but I'd much rather protect Teddy Blueger over Jeff Carter, or honestly even Brandon Tanev. I could see them protecting Tanev, but I don't think I would dare Seattle take that contract from them, to be honest with you. But it's the big thing. They're obviously going to lose a good player. They're 4 lines deep. but this is still going to be a really good team going into next season. And, they'll make some tweaks along the edges as they should. You have the core pieces in place. No, they're not going to trade Jake Gensel. Stop with that hogwash. Oh my God, he has 3 goals in his last 14 playoff games. He's not physical enough. Who cares? Shut up. He had 23 goals in 37 playoff games before this. I don't really know where this weird narrative is coming from. Now, if you want to maybe think about trading Brian Rust during his last year of his deal, and you want to get a good package back for him, because there are a lot of GMs who would probably give up a first plus a top 9 forward for him, then, let's have that discussion, because I don't want the Penguins to be paying Brian Rust $5 million per in this next contract. That will be a massive mistake.
All right, we're just gonna get into this right now. I want to trade Brian Rust for Maxime Comtois.
I knew you were going to say that. I was just about to say, do it.
I don't know how possible it is. I don't know how realistic it is, but we're all talking about physicality and pushback, and it's probably the best guy to go for, unless you want to unload Zucker and try and go at Brandon Saad in free agency.
I think get rid of Zucker.
Definitely could see Brandon Saad in the Pens jersey.
Oh boy.
Yeah. But do you think that that's realistic or no? Like trying to get Comtois from Anaheim? Not at all.
Probably not.
Yeah, I figured not. Another thing that's been spoken into existence for me, and I'm sure you've got it too, Hunter. Our buddy Clark is very big on the Blake Coleman train.
Yeah, if they want to get big and tougher, as I know Ron Hextall talked about that today, but he also said that him and Sullivan are aligned with how they want the team to play.
Mm-hmm.
So that's obviously a fast-paced, a highly skilled game. I mean, I had to do a double take when Brian Burke said we have to skate away from what the Islanders are doing. Like, oh, okay. I guess someone took over your brain there for a second. But, yeah, Blake Coleman makes a lot of sense, but who's going to pay him? I mean, he's going to want a lot of money.
I think, I feel like he could probably take a deal under $4 million. Like, I think he could take a Tanev type of deal potentially.
I do it. He makes all the sense in the world. You can plug him anywhere in the lineup. He's tough to play against. He's physical.
Yeah.
Everyone, and Ron also said today a lot of these players are very hard to find. There's one right there that's going to be hitting the market. So if you want to try to outbid yourself for him, or outbid a lot of other teams, go right ahead. I just, don't want another Rutherford situation here where you just outbid it too far.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I don't know, man. There's that's the nice thing is we're finally going into an off season where we have no idea what's going to happen in a good way. We're not freaking out. I'm not waking up every day in the fear that Jared McCann got traded in some random ass panic move made by Jim Rutherford because he got angry one night that they lost 3-2 in the middle of February to St. Louis. I'm not having that anymore. And I don't know. There's a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, as much as I love Brian Rust, if you can cash out on him and get a good top 9 forward and a first round draft pick, that would be pretty big. I know that it was reported earlier in the year that they wanted to try and get back into the first round in some way, shape, or form. So that might be the way to do it.
That is another thing that we put in the chat, Doug, that I'll throw out there. I know it's not really anything that's set in stone or anything like that at all, but you've put it out there. People talking about also trading Gensel. And so I figure I know I have no idea that'll happen at all. But I'm just saying that's been discussed.
If Gensel gets traded, the jersey curse that I have will continue to be true, and I don't want that.
Just dump into the Ohio if they trade Jake Gensel. To be honest,
I swear to God, every jersey I get, they just trade him. Cahoon, gone. Jari's probably not. Jari might be gone.
He had weirdos saying he should be traded for Matthew Tkachuk, and I'm like, get the hell out of here, man! Like,
ew.
I'm like,
he's
a really good player, but he's
There's
not.
no need to trade Gensel. I don't, in my opinion, I don't think.
You know, all these people that, he has 3 goals in 14 playoff games. Yeah, he also had 23 in his first 37. People are streaky. It happens.
Yeah.
He also led the team in high danger chances in the series, and shots on goal, and shot attempts per 60, and individual scoring chances. It's like all their goalie was God. It really is not. People were just looking for excuses.
Yeah. I don't really have much to add to this other than the fact that I'm not going to play into that oddly specific media member and all of his henchmen who have a bunch of random numbers in their Twitter usernames. I'm not going to waste my time on that because I'm better than that and I'm above that. And those are the type of people that I either mute on Twitter or flat out attack them until I'm blocked. I just don't get it. And then like I have these people like trying to like message me on Twitter and they're like, oh, do you think they need to get physical? It's like, no.
Yeah.
Like literally, your physicality is the fourth line. And if you lose Aston Reese in expansion, like I think we're all mentally prepared to,
yeah,
you have guys that can fill that role, So Horner can do it.
Freddie will be back.
And Freddie's going to be back. Freddie has to be back. Like you need to get him and Cece on a 2 to 3 year deal, like right now. I'd be perfectly fine if you go into next year with the fourth line being Tanev, Bluger, and Freddie.
Yep.
I could run with that. And I don't know, maybe potentially look at trading Jason Zucker. I mean, I know everybody likes to say it's a Brassard situation, but it's really more of a David Perron thing where it's like the guy's doing almost everything right. It just hasn't worked.
Yeah.
And I think that was a trade that was made with the impression that the cap was going to continue to inflate. And now we're at a point where the cap's going to stay flat for 4 or 5 years. And I don't know, maybe they can't support that now. We'll see though.
Anything else on the Penguins stuff before we get to touch on the second round series? Is moving on here.
Oh, I forgot we still have to do that.
Yeah, we're just gonna touch on them real quick.
Holy hell! All right, let's do this.
So basically, what we're gonna do with these second round ones, we are just going to look at them, tell everybody who's in them, and we're just gonna make little predictions on them real quick before we close it out. So, moving on, looking at this one. By the way, for you guys who are interested, the Canadians are up 5-3 with under a minute to go on a power play with a Jets empty net.
Honestly,
Mark
I'm sorry.
Scheifele might be out for the series now after that hit. That looked bad.
What's that?
Mark Scheifele might be gone for a
Oof.
bit after what he did to Jake Evans. I do not. If anyone just saw that hit, it's bad. It looks like he's knocked out.
Huge loss if that's the case.
I really think it actually, even more so if that's the case, I really think Montreal might do another upset here.
Even
I
with
know
Mark Scheifele, yeah.
Because I mean, they're hot right now. Montreal's hot, and all it takes, especially all of you know, especially in the playoffs, all it takes is a hot team, hot streak, and I think they have a lot of adrenaline and hype now that they beat Toronto. They're going to carry that over into this Winnipeg series, and if Winnipeg's not careful, they might lose. They might lose the series.
So everybody make their predictions on this, who they're picking for winning the Winnipeg Montreal series.
Most
Montreal.
dangerous team is a team with nothing to lose. Montreal has been that team for the last 2 years. They know, hey, in a normal playoff setting, we wouldn't be here. But yet we were just good enough that we were able to make it. So what do we have to lose at this point?
That's all that matters. As long as you're there, you're there. It doesn't matter. You're there.
You know
I
what?
don't care if you got the first seed or the last. You're there.
You know what? I'm gonna
Make
buy.
it count.
I'll buy into the Montreal hype this year. I'll go Montreal in 7. That's what I'll do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll say Montreal here, especially because I think Scheifele is probably going to be out for the series now. It probably only should watch that hit once. It's like a Tom Wilson level bad hit.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Okay. Doug Payton.
Yeah, I'm going Montreal. All those young guys just so happen to be playoff players too, and that's a big thing, for them. And I mean, Kotkaniemi and Suzuki are bringing it, man. They're so much fun to watch every single night, and it's only a matter of time until Caulfield starts hitting pay dirt and just starts ripping the puck like he's Phil Kessel.
I'm gonna actually go Montreal in 6 on this one.
Okay. I like it. So everybody pretty much taking Montreal to move ahead to the final, the final out of the North, I should say. Let's move ahead to the next one. Currently, game 2 is tonight with this one, but Colorado versus Vegas. Colorado leading at 1-0 right now. After the annihilation Vegas took on Sunday. I am biased. Colorado. Everybody else, go ahead though.
I just watched the hit. Oh my god, it's so bad.
Yeah, he'll be gone.
Holy shit! Yeah, that's bad.
He doesn't even look like he's up. But Colorado, they'll go to the semifinals and they'll probably blitz whoever wins this Canadian series. That's for sure.
I'm honest. I know I got a Vegas jersey on, but I actually do think Vegas will get one game, just one. So I think I might go 5. Colorado in 5.
I will also go Colorado in 5 with this one, just because I feel like you kind of said, Peyton, they are a good team. I feel like at some point Flower will be able to steal at least one game for Vegas. However, Colorado is just too much to handle, and I feel like the way Grubauer's been playing so far, it's going to be enough to handle whatever Vegas throws at them. Not to mention they got that defensive core that Dougie absolutely loves. So, yeah, Colorado in 5.
They're gonna sweep Vegas.
I thought it was Shifley that got hit. Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
That's an ugly hit.
Evans just got killed.
That is an ugly hit.
Yeah,
oh my god.
It's very bad.
He's being stretchered off the ice.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
It's that bad.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, but Colorado is going to sweep Vegas. I'm taking it right now. But yeah, that hits really bad, man. Hopefully Jake Evans is okay, but I don't even understand empty net situation. I get it, but why do you got to run the guy? It's just senseless. It's a shame.
And he's a leader on that team too. Mark Shifley is a leader.
Exactly. It's not like
what kind of example are you setting?
It was literally the best player on your roster just deciding to run through a guy.
And Jake Evans, honestly, off that hit, he could be out for a while.
Yeah, it's not good.
All right, did everybody make their picks on that one? I wasn't. We were back and forth between hit and stuff. So
yeah,
okay.
I think we're all taking Colorado in some capacity.
All right. Then over to the other side, it's in the Central, Carolina versus Tampa. Tampa leading that 2-0 right now in that series. Game 3 tomorrow night.
Tampa. It almost seems like it's like a big brother, little brother series because Carolina's built just like them, or they have their roster constructed like them. But Tampa's top players are just a step above Carolina's. I mean, Carolina can run Aho, Svechnikov, and Teravainen at you, and that's one of the best lines in hockey. But when you have Kucherov, Point, and Palat coming at you the other way, that's not fair. And also it helps when you do have the best goaltender on the planet. I mean, he's Vasilevsky. I understand Florida had a great year, but Vasilevsky I think deserves to win the Vezina, and I think that's the big difference maker in this series. Tampa will win that one.
Okay.
I also have Tampa winning. I'll say in 5 for this one, just because they're already off to a great start, and like you said, Hunter, Vasilevsky's playing out of his mind right now for Tampa. And if you can do that well against a team with as many weapons as Carolina, I think you've pretty much sealed your fate. And I like where Tampa's at right now, and I think they're going to be punching their ticket to round 3 again.
Honestly, I think I am going to go with Tampa, but I think it's going to be 6 games. I think Carolina could force another game. I don't. They're definitely not going to lay down that. Definitely not. Yeah,
Yeah.
Tampa in 6.
Tampa in 5. Like I always say about how much I love Colorado's forward defensive group, I love Tampa's forward group that much more. Just the complementary pieces they have are just incredible. And I know they had to do some finagling to keep them all under the cap this year. But like, honestly, man, like when you have like Yanni Gordon and Blake Coleman skating on your third line, you're doing something right. And this isn't going to go away. They have some good pieces down in Syracuse right now that will be able to come up and contribute next year at the earliest, I would think. So this train can keep rolling for a long, long time, regardless of who they lose. And I imagine that they're going to be one of those teams that gives the Kraken a bunch of assets to take on a bad contract or two. So, replace Tyler Johnson with one of the guys down in Syracuse, and they might be able to keep this thing rolling for a couple more years.
All right. And then the last one, of course, is Boston and the New York Islanders. They're tied 1-1. Next game tomorrow night also. Let's make our picks on this one.
I'm going to go Boston in 7 on this one. I know that obviously Pasternak's had a great early series so far, same with Bergeron and Marchand, and even David Krejci to a certain extent. But with the Islanders, specifically with their goaltending situation, I don't know if they have a clear-cut number one right now. Obviously, Sorokin started the series with against Pittsburgh. Then Varlamov hopped back in. Then they went back to Sorokin. Well, then Sorokin lost game 1, and now Varlamov started game 2. He gets the win. So now you got to wonder, like, are they just going to keep, switching goalies in and out the entire time? I don't know how that's going to work out for the Islanders. I feel like at some point, it's going to, mess things up in a way. I don't know how, but I have this strange feeling that it will. And with this team like Boston, who's, as deep as they are, it might just take a toll on the Islanders altogether. But, like I said, this is going to be a slugfest, and I could see this one still going the distance either way.
I think the Eggman's going to get defeated in 7 games. I'm going to agree with Scotty here. Boston's, although they are the 3rd seed, that I know Doug was mentioning early in the show, that top line, then you got that the great value version of the second line with Taylor Hall of the first line. I think Boston just has the better scoring depth, and I think they'll go in 7. And they'll play Tampa.
Yeah, it'll be Boston, Tampa Bay. I'll probably say Bruins in 6. I think the Islanders will take obviously one at the Coliseum, and then Boston will shut down that dump of an arena for good, and they'll actually get competent goaltending out of it, which of course the Penguins did not get. So I think Boston will get there, and Boston Tampa Bay would be that would be a lot of that would be a very fun series, because last year I think both of them didn't get Tuukka Rask obviously, but this year I think that will be a lot of fun, especially with how Boston's rolling right now.
Yeah, as much as I want the Islanders to win this, simply because I want more and more videos of what goes on in Borelli's during these Islanders games, because it is hilarious watching them just go nuts. But it's going to be Boston. I think that they win it in 7 games. I think that the Islanders are capable of taking it to that 7th game. And give me that Boston Tampa series. Like Hunter said, give me that with Tuukka Rask, and I want to see what happens, because I think that Boston could really give Tampa a run for their money. Not saying they could beat them, but they could take them deep. That is for damn sure.
I'm not going to take any it pains me to say that Boston will win that series, because most of you know the hatred I have for Boston and the hatred I have for Washington. So if I had to pick a team out of that first round to win, I'd definitely pick Boston over Washington. If I had to pick on my own liking for this series, I'd say the Islanders are going to kick Bruins ass, but I know it's not going to happen. But I do agree that it goes to Game 7 with all you guys as well. So
Sounds like you need to stop being an Avs fan with how much you hate Boston and Washington. I obviously did the right thing in enrolling you in Yinzer school, buddy. You know, holy shit, love that.
I can't stand either one of them.
Yeah.
If I had to, like, I've talked to you, Doug, on my mission to own one jersey from every team, and Boston and Washington are the last two on that fucking list.
I already accomplished Boston and Washington both. Washington.
Doug, we just got a full-on playoff Marc-Andre Fleury goal just now, and it was saw a whiff on it, and it went 5-hole like a beach ball, and it was
Yes.
we got your Penn's Twitter is gonna be loving this.
I can't wait to retweet it. I can't wait to retweet
Brandon
it. Say
Saab at the
something
goal
passive.
too.
Yeah, I got it.
It's because I'm wearing this jersey, isn't it?
Keep it on, Peyton. Just keep it
No,
Just-
I'll take it.
on. Fucking keep it on.
Wear it every day for the next 2 weeks. I
No,
need this sweep, Peyton. I
no.
need this sweep.
I need them to win at least one game.
Nope, no, you don't.
Yes.
It's funny
No, you don't.
that Vegas hasn't even recorded a shot yet.
They
They're
do
already
now.
down 1-0.
They do now.
But
They
like
won-
they
they won
didn't
some.
have one.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy. I'm ready to wrap this up so we can all go watch this game.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts on anything before we wrap up? All right. All right. Well then, thank you guys for tuning in as always on Fort Checking TV. I'm TK, Scotty, Doug, and Peyton. Hunter, thank you again for joining us, man. We appreciate having you on.
Yeah, of course. You know, anytime you guys want to have me on, just let me know. That was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, we thank you again for having on. Stay tuned, guys, next week for the premiere of episode 6. Until then, we will see you next time and watch some hockey. Thanks, guys.